family members, it is the proper transition by the signing. It's happening in the President's room inside the U.S. Capitol. It does look like the boardroom from The Apprentice, but it's not. It's the Capitol, and it is, there you see House Speaker Paul Ryan and the Vice President over his shoulder. Martha, you know, the former president said, he started saying, we've been milking this goodbye, and he was talking for a while there at Twin Peaks Andrews.
He said, I'm going to be very brief, but you know, I think he may still be going on at this point. And as you point out, this is really some housekeeping that takes place here. Ceremonial, the signing of some security documents as the president takes office. And you can see him surrounded by the family. Those are Don Jr.'s children and Ivanka's children to his right, watching Grandpa beginning to sign some of these documents as he takes over.
Let's see what we can
action
hear.
of business. Yeah, let's see what we can hear, absolutely.
It's coming though, right, Chuck? It looks like you added some letters in your name.
Start with the copies. It's beautiful children. Keep pushing it there. That's okay.
I get another stack coming.
Yeah, I'd like to give some heads up. So everyone's just getting stingy now, right? Come on up.
I guess we can give each.
Okay, I'll start doing it. How about we'll do Nancy first? Is that okay? So everybody. Where is that? That's Arabella. All right, Chuck. Very, very nice. Very nice.
Ben Carson.
What? Ben Carson. But she doesn't get a vote. Did you get Tom? You know, he's going to be terrific, and he's going to get approved, but I'll give you a different one. Come here. I'll give you a lane. Do you want a lane? No, Tom is not in charge.
Mr. President, the leader wants it.
You know what? The leader should have a lane. That's good. That's good. You got a prize back.
I'll take them.
That's right. You would be very good. I'll take it. Put it back on. This is very well yesterday. Rick Perry. Look, Chuck, it's torn.
It's better than Carson.
Okay, who would like? I want it. Good. Okay, you get that ready for me? It's a tough group of people here. They're learning the hard way. Betsy, education. qualifications, right?
All right, so just in case anybody wants to know, these aren't the executive orders on immigration or healthcare or anything else. And there you see a room of bipartisan lawmakers, including Nancy Pelosi. There's House Speaker Ryan. This is a bill he signed, the proclamation, the Day of Patriotism. And then these are the formal nominations, one by one, for his cabinet. And I think there was some passing of the pens he was using, and Nancy Pelosi, the House Minority Leader, said, I probably shouldn't get one before Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell.
So he's getting used to the protocol in Washington and how things are done, and this is his first experience probably of handing off the pens as he signs bills. So he passed one to Nancy Pelosi right off the bat. She was sort of right in his sight line. He looked up, she was smiling at him. She sort of piped up and said maybe he should go to the leader. So Donald Trump gets his sort of some indoctrination into the ways of Washington in this little ceremony that we're watching unfold here right now. You can see Paul Ryan smiling over his shoulder, and the room is crowded with family members. It's nice to see some little kids back in the White House. We saw the Obama children really when they came in, and it's always sort of, I think, refreshing. I think Americans love to see children in the White House.
Although I would say this, if I'm 10, is pretty boring.
Like Barron.
But Paul Ryan's looking over his shoulder. He's hoping to see a lot of that signing going on early in this term, right, Chris?
Yes, absolutely. And as we pointed out before, the flip side of what Barack Obama did in his second term, when he said, I've got a pen and a phone, and he used the pen to sign a lot of executive actions on immigration and climate change and a variety of other matters, that can all be undone with the stroke of a pen, and I don't think that's what you're seeing today, right now, but you're certainly going to see some of that starting on Monday, the first full day of business in the Oval Office, and that'll be an easy, quick way for Donald Trump to keep some campaign promises and to chalk up some victories. I think he's going to be able to dismantle some parts of Obamacare by executive order as well. A lot of the legislation going to be much more complicated and time-consuming, but this will be a way to begin to pay off his campaign promises to the American people.
We should point out this is also the Mattis waiver bill. This is the bill that allows General James Mattis to officially become his defense secretary. The law was that you couldn't be in a civilian cabinet posts until after 7 years leaving the military. This bill, Britt, changes that.
It does, and I might add, Brett, that when he gets down to the business of undoing executive orders done by President Obama, no one should underestimate the effect of that, because some of these regulations were quite sweeping that he put into place. A lot of businesses and other entities thought that they were a real drag on their ability to operate. And a lot of businessmen I've talked to say that as important as any tax reforms that he does, and as important as lowering the tax rates on business and the rest of it, getting some of these executive orders undone will have at least as much of an effect. So these are things, as we suggest here, that he can do in the early going that will make a difference.
You think about
How
the
much
fact
we'll see.
that is definitely his focus. I mean, he's a businessman, and business is going to come first for him. Regulations, cutting corporate taxes, those are things that are near and dear to his heart. President Obama, on his first day, wanted to close Guantanamo Bay. That was one of the first things that he spoke about. That dream did not come true for him, and he was still pushing for it on its way out the door.
Yes, and he was unable to do that because Congress wouldn't go along. The Congress that many of the critics of the Republican leadership said gave the president everything he wanted. Well, that was the one big thing that he never got. And as we speak here today, Martha, as you suggest, Guantanamo remains open, and who knows how much busier it may become under this new president.
Speaking of regulations, Dana, in that speech today, the inaugural address, President Trump said, for too long, we've been held back by burdensome regulations on our energy industry. President Trump is committed to eliminating some of those environmental regulations. And to that point, the climate change section of the White House website has just been taken down. Might be getting a redo, something tells me.
By the way, Brett, I might note that the new POTUS Twitter account is up. So far, no tweets, but nearly 4 million followers. Meantime, the old one, the Donald J. Trump website, remains up, still has 20 million followers.
We're told
so
that
we
they
will
will-
await the first presidential tweet.
We're told that they will transfer over, is what we're being told.
That'll be good for a lot of the followers, I'm sure.
We will be the first to bring you the first presidential tweet.
I bet you it won't be long.
I think that there's something to be said about the environmental and conservation policies of this president. You haven't heard a lot about that, but it really does get to the heart of when we're talking about rural America in particular. For example, the Obama administration had been very aggressive with one rule in particular called Waters of the United States. The acronym is WOTUS. And if you talk to